We have officially made it to episode 3 of the SBG podcast. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming not only my dog, but also Mr. Justin Doan.
What's up?
Appreciate you coming out all this way and being here, man.
Yeah, man, I thought I was on the way to Arkansas.
Yeah, it's a little rip from Lafayette, but man, I'm glad that you got to come and check out the farm life out here.
Yeah.
Check out some chickens and the possum and stuff.
It was like unnervingly quiet. I just kept looking over my shoulder and I was just like, this doesn't feel right.
Man, this dog is being super needy already. This is Bluey, by the way. He might be hanging out halfway through the podcast right here. But, man, glad to have you here. And so before we got in here, you were telling me about your teaching these days, aren't you?
Yeah, man. I always said I wouldn't be a teacher. Like, I don't really typically enjoy it too much, but it hasn't been too bad. I was at Astro Studio. That's the last time I saw you. And that place just kind of ended up falling through. And one of the people that was doing some recording with us, Tim Benson, he's in that band Criers, and he owns like 5 or 6 successful businesses in town. And one of them happens to be the Music Academy at Lafayette. And as soon as like negotiations started going weird with like contracts and pay and stuff, I hit him up immediately. I was like, "Hey, you guys need some teachers?" And he was like, "Yeah, come on down tomorrow." And hire me on the spot. And it took like, hello. It took like maybe a month.
Freaking out. Dogs are under control. So you were saying?
Yeah, like within about a month of getting hired at the Music Academy, I had at least like I think 30 students. I'm teaching all sorts of stuff, man. Guitar, bass, all the brass instruments, even trombone. Like I never actually played trombone. I just know how to read it technically, and I know like the mouth techniques for the mouthpiece, and I just kind of figured out a way to learn that on the spot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and piano as well.
Yeah, we were had the pleasure of listening to some of the shredding on the piano. It's definitely the best finger work that piano has gotten so far over here.
A lot of people don't know I even play the piano. Everyone just assumes
Really?
like I only play guitar.
Dang. So you never you don't bring like your keys or anything out to like shows whenever you
No, like for the longest time I never actually had a piano. Remember at the Bechet House, the big grand piano they had? Like that was the only practicing outside of school that I ever did. And then they got rid of that thing, and then we all went our separate ways from the Bechet House, and I just never had a piano. And like I refused to play on those cheap little light plastic keyboards, it just doesn't feel the same.
Oh yeah, the weighted keys, it's like night and day difference.
But see, as soon as I started teaching at the school, like I would have like 30-minute breaks, sometimes an hour and a half break, and I'm just sitting in there in a room with a piano, so I just immediately just kind of picked it up and started playing again, and
that's awesome.
it didn't take me long to start taking it seriously again, and I finally have my own piano now.
Nice.
Only has like a couple of months, so.
Congratulations on that, man.
Thanks, man.
So, me and Justin used to play music a while back.
Yeah, we did.
Used to be in a band with old Tres Leches.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get
Good
him.
old Juan.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I wish he was here.
I'm for sure going to get him on soon over here. But yeah, at the Bechet House, those were some good times, man. We were in that metal band, Cut Through the Dawn.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I don't even remember how exactly you ended up playing in the band.
I do.
That's right. High Octane did a record over there, like a EP or something, and that's where I met you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even. I think there was like some other person.
It was me and James Marshall.
Marshall, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, he ended up deciding he didn't want to do it
because he was doing Forming the Void at the same time.
Dang, Forming the Void's that old?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure they were.
Yeah, that is what happened, and they got pretty big for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what happened to them. Are they still around?
I'm not super sure.
I know they had like a couple member changes or something, and
yeah, I think that they might have taken a little hiatus, or it might have been a permanent hiatus.
Yeah, it's weird. Like they were like, as far as Lafayette bands goes, they got pretty big for a while, and then they just disappeared.
Yeah, I remember them doing what it was like a Psycho Fest in freaking Las Vegas or something. And I was like, man, this is
they were
crazy.
On some pretty big bills.
I was waiting for them to like show up, opening up for like Mastodon or something.
Yeah, that's
like
exactly
that.
the band I was about to mention. Like a doomier version of Mastodon.
Oh yeah. So a little bit about Cut Through the Dawn and the metal scene. And so back whenever he talked to me about being in that band, I was like, man, I had listened to some of y'all's music, and the only reason that I went into that band was because it was so much like Trivium, and because I was already in High Octane, I was like, okay, it's gonna be difficult to like juggle school and work and like a second band. But then I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get an opportunity to be in a band that does this kind of like music that's actually good again, you know. So I was like, I have to do it. And the music was real tough because this man wrote all the guitar licks, and if you ever watched him play guitar, it's really good. And so then I was like, I knew going in, I was like, this is gonna force me to just be like a better musician because I'm gonna have to like follow exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you got way better from like day one to even like after like the 6-month mark.
It was the I mean, obviously the difficulty of the music, but then also you were like very adamant about playing to the metronome, and that's what really helped me progress as like a musician, because before that I never really messed around with a metronome, but then that forces you to be on time. And
yeah, you had such like a looser kind of like almost classic rock blues style, which not to say that like that's not like technical, but like it's like almost like mathematical, the stuff that I was asking.
Oh yeah, it was like classical on a guitar. Especially, I still remember it. I'll put a link to this video in here, but that song "Smother," we played that at the station. That was the one that I remember the most because it had that part in it where it was just me and you, and you had to follow the click track because it was just me and you, and there was 2 parts where it was like, it was intertwined in such a way that it wasn't like a harmony, but they went together, right? They were like weaving.
Like I wrote it like in the Baroquean style, where I'd be playing like an 8th note, but you'd be playing 2 16ths, and then like back and forth. So it sounded like there was constantly 16th notes going on. But if you're going det ticka det ticka det ticka det, but you're going ticka dun ticka dun ticka dun ticka dun, and so like if you like mess up at all, like it becomes noticeable.
Yeah, it was like. It was like a helix, like it would intersect in some spots, and then it intersected at the end. And if you weren't doing it correctly, it would miss at the end. That was super tight. And then the over the fret with the 4-finger.
Yeah, that was an interesting technique that I don't know if I like pioneered that. Like I've seen people like do like, you know, tapping arpeggios and then like maybe like a slide and maybe add another finger in there, but you were forced to use like your pointer and your pinky on like both. Those ridiculous. There's no way you could do like maybe an open string or something. Like you were forced to like stick your hand over the fretboard and play it like a piano.
Yeah, man, that shit was so crazy. That was one of those moments like learning how to like pick a triplet or do, you know, just tapping in general. It was like a technique that you had to learn how to do, and that took me a while. I was like, man, I gotta figure out even how to like play this. Like I thought I was a decent player up until I got to that point.
You pulled it off though. Like the whole first album, like you had down really good.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we ended up getting to play for Fear Factory, and then tragic events transpired. We won't go too hard into it. Yeah, but
yeah, that literally killed the band. I don't think we never played a show after. We found the drummer. Yeah, it took us like 5 or 6 months to train him up. It took us even longer to find him.
We never played a show with him though.
No, because he ended up like we were like ready to like we worked with him really hard, and then he like got a girl pregnant or something, maybe, or he had like a job offer. Yeah, it was like something like life changing that he just like it's like, look, I can do this with you guys, or I can go and make 6 figures a year. Yeah, and support my family. So, and it's like I don't blame the guy, but I don't know. And then so that fell through, and I guess we were just kind of demoralized.
Yeah, and it's then so rough, especially whenever you lose. Like the drummer is in that genre is so hard to replace because it's so technical. Like guitar players chomp at the bit, and they're not. I don't know how to describe it. Like there's more guitar players I feel that could play that, but something about finding a damn drummer is.
Yeah, I've always had issues my entire life. My current band, Soul Giant, we got really lucky with ours. We started off with a pretty good drummer, but like within 2 months of starting like the project and working together, he started causing weird problems with chicks in public.
Really?
Yeah, and it was just like, oh my god.
Was it him being like strange with them or something?
Yeah, and he's like 6'7", huge, like looked like a Viking. So even though he's actually being nice, it just comes across as terrifying, you know. And also he was in military, and like he had like some PTSD things, and so like every now and then he would drink a couple cases of beer in one night, as one does, on his PTSD meds, and then weird shit would happen. So,
oh man,
yeah, and we started. I mean, it sucked because like he hit the kick drum harder than I've ever heard anybody in my life. It sounded like a cannon, but like 16th notes, just cannons firing off. It was incredible. He was super into like the foreign black metal, and he didn't like use triggers or anything. He used just all power. He reminded me of old David Kincaid.
Yeah.
But that didn't, like, within 3 months, that didn't work out. And so we had some auditions, and I think we went through 7 drummers that actually wanted to try out. And I think, like, on one of the days, I think it was, like, the 5th one that tried out. Like, he was walking out and, like, packing up, and we were just like, fuck, these guys all suck. Like, like, what are we going to do? And then we were just sitting on the porch all defeated. And then across the street, we see a couple fuckheads just, like, throwing cigarettes across the street and, like, running and dodging cars. And it was, like, 3 of them together. And I was like, I bet those dudes are in a band.
Those are the prime candidates right there.
And they just happened to park right in front of our house for whatever reason. And they were like, hey, man, we heard you guys. It sounded awesome. What y'all doing? And I was like, oh, we're actually having drum tryouts. And you guys play drums? One guy was like, yeah, I do. And I was like, all right, get over here. And it just happened to be, like, I was in my room. And at the time, like, the practice area was like right next to it. I was like digging for something in my room, and he sat down on the kit, and he just did one of those simple da-da-da kind of things, you know, the 2 kicks and the snare. And the way he hit the snare, like, I picked up my head and I was like, that's the guy.
He's the one.
That kid was just like love at first tap. And yeah, it ended up just fitting in perfectly.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, it's been that lineup ever since.
Yeah, it's good whenever you can find it in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is, man. So your current band that you're with is Soul Giant.
Mm-hmm.
And how many shows have y'all been playing a decent amount right now?
At the moment, we've kind of been a little slow. We're focusing more on music videos.
Really?
Finishing writing the second album. We're in the middle of recording we're going to release it in 2 stages, like 2 EPs, 4 songs, then 4 songs. All of our songs are long as fuck.
Like 10-minute type?
Some of them, they're like average 6 minutes, but
you.
they tend to kind of stretch a little bit longer. And it's of course it's super technical. And not only this time with like in the past I would do all kinds of crazy finger work, but if you like really like I guess slowed it down, like analyzed it, it was pretty pop formatty. It was like intro, verse, chorus, or intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, repeat those things again, even though they were crazy. And it was like all in kind of like either 4/4 or 12/8 time. There wasn't too much variation really. Maybe every now and then we did like some meter tempo change things, but it was pretty much just blasting you in the face the whole time.
Was that purposeful, the way that y'all set it up that way?
Well, I mean, that's how Cut to the Dawn was. Now, this band, though, it ended up just being super... because I wrote everything in Cut to the Dawn, like all the parts.
Yeah.
But this, we all wrote it together.
Nice.
And so they were able to like tame me in a way that like okay, I can't, the other guy can't play that, so we're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. So figure out something else to do here. You know, the give and take of putting a song together. And I mean, we're all super big fans of like either like death metal, old metalcore, but each of us are kind of different. Like I'm more of that Trivium kind of guy, whereas Jeremy's more of kind of like a cattle decapitation kind of metal, and then Chris is like somewhere in between. That digs like Devin Townsend type stuff. And then of course like over 10 years have gone by, and I've gotten a lot better musically in general, just like the way that I think and write music and stuff. Yeah. And so now one thing we really wanted to focus on was more than anything like dynamics, like without even like hearing vocals or lyrics. We wanted you to feel like what the song's about, you know, at least a vague kind of like feeling that you would get, you know.
That's so important, man.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll get bands, I guess that it's just maybe not what they're going for, and like they're good in their own way, but you can definitely feel whenever somebody's like put their heart and soul to the music part of it.
It reminds me of I was at the radio station one time for Cut Through the Dawn. Maybe you were there, I'm not sure. There was some other band there that was getting interviewed before us.
Was it 937?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was over there at Planet. Tyson was doing it, so I don't. Which maybe it was the Grindhouse, maybe it was something else.
Okay.
But they were getting interviewed before us, and the vocalist wasn't there. And at some point, the DJ asked them, they're about to play their song. They're like, "All right, so what's this song about?" And they were like, "Oh, well, it's kind of a new song, and we don't actually know the lyrics. Our vocalist isn't here." It's like, sorry. And, and then the DJ goes, "Well, what's the music about?" And they all just kind of laughed, and then like moved on. and I was just like,
what?
I was like, wait a minute, like the music in general should tell like emotion in a story, like, and it's like just like that. I never forgot that question. It always kind of bothered me that is that like how everybody thinks that like music is just this background thing, and the only thing that matters is what the vocalist says. Like the vocalist has to say it to you for you to get an emotion or a feeling. It just really bothered me,
dude. And sometimes, like so our first band that we really did carry on, right? We played a fair amount with them, and then we ended up getting our drummer at the time had connects with. He was working at the tattoo shop. And they had a bunch of bands, and they also had like people that played in big name bands that were working at the tattoo shop with them. So he got one of them to come to one of our practices and like give us pointers about, how to make our shit more catchy and like radio friendly. And it sounds like probably those guys were using some of the same techniques, because in the end, if your goal is just to get popular and sell, make sales, then you will you'll adhere to the formula that is like it was like something like you got to take like 30 seconds or something to get to the hook of the song, and then after that you have certain time slots to fill of different things, and that's the formula. And if you do anything outside of that, it's not radio friendly, all this shit. And I was like, bro, like if you think about it, that's the modernized way of doing it. It's the way you push sales, and it's ripping the heart and soul out of the music.
Exactly.
And you think about like Led Zeppelin, like Stairway to Heaven would have never gotten written if they were adhering to all this bullshit, War Pigs, It's so crazy that is just, capitalism or whatever, has taken hold of every industry and just
it's just like this weird gray area of like what is artistry and what is, I guess everyone calls it selling out, But I mean, is there anything wrong with that? Like, if playing music is my day job, is that really a bad thing, even if I hate it?
Yeah.
To me, I refuse to do it. I don't know if that's conceited or if that's what it is. Like, if I'm going to do something, I have to want to do it and enjoy, especially when it comes to music. Because, okay, this is a good example. I used to love sushi. And then I worked at Tsunami for 5 years. Oh, yeah. And now I can barely stand it.
Really?
Yeah, like, I'll eat it all the time, but like I'm always just like...
I always wondered about that exact thing, because I used to work at Little Caesars. Yeah. And before that, I loved the crazy bread, and I was like, I could eat this all the time. And same thing, I got sick of it, so I always wanted sushi.
Even like high quality, like me and Michelle, I've eaten at some pretty good sushi restaurants the past couple of months. Like Fuji Sushi is incredible downtown, and then Sushi Masa, that all you can eat place is.
Oh yeah.
As far as for what that is, it's really good, and even like the high end sushi rolls, I'm just like, That's just because I ate it every single day for 5 years, And in that note, like, if I'm playing music every single day, but in something that I just don't enjoy, especially something I don't enjoy, like, I don't want to hate music,
Oh yeah. And I think, it could be, an argument could be made, obviously, for there's probably probably a decent amount of, like, mainstream bands where, they adhered to that formula, and they did have good songs, and it worked for them, right? And they're catchy, and they stood the test of time. But I feel like if bands that have stood long, like since the 70s and shit, because they, didn't adhere to that, there wasn't that in place just yet. That's the difference, right? You just have more of those bands that, like, they'll be there forever. It's a classic, just like Stairway to Heaven. Yeah, I'm a firm believer. Don't sell out on the music. If you're, it depends on what your goals are, I guess.
And I suppose there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't want to do that, but it works for some people, and they can sleep at night doing that.
Yeah.
And then sure.
So your band's Soul Giant currently. If anybody watching this wants to book this man for a metal gig, reach out to him. I'll post your band Facebook page in here so that your personal one doesn't get bombarded with trolls.
Yeah, there we go.
Even though I do like, troll. I haven't gotten any trolls on my YouTube just yet, but I'm waiting.
Oh yeah, just wait.
Like, bro, your mohawk sucks.
Speaking of booking, we just because my band's in this weird stage, so we spent like a year, the first year, like just writing and just making sure everything's like as perfect as we want it. We did like all the recording and stuff, and then we went out there and like for like a year we were playing like 2-3 shows every single week. We went just about everywhere.
What? Where was y'all's sphere of influence? How far out did y'all go?
The farthest left we went left west. I think it was Houston. And then as far east we got was somewhere in Alabama.
Nice.
And as far north we went was Monroe. So kind of like that immediate Sunbelt area.
Mm-hmm.
We played a lot of venues multiple times, and we were just, getting out there and seeing like how we compared to other bands. Actually, our singer / other lead guitarist, he's never been in a band before ever, and so it was a really big learning experience for him.
Dang.
Because he hung out with like me and Jeremy, which had been in multiple successful local bands, as successful local bands get for years. Everybody knows us, and our drummer as well is John Colley. He's younger than us, but he was in a couple of pretty well known bands too. But him, he's hung out with us. He kind of, he's always went to metal shows and stuff, but he didn't really know what that life was about. Like only having one guitar and not a backup, and you're in the middle of a solo and that thing pops, and you have a Floyd Rose.
Oh, I was about to say, what do you do?
What do you do?
Oh man,
what do you do when there's 200 people out there looking at you in between a song, and you just hear crickets?
Nightmare.
Or what happens when a tube blows in your amp? Like all these weird everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it was excellent because he got some great experience with that.
So what did he do whenever the Floyd Rose thing went down? Because
this was one of our first shows actually, and he kind of panicked. But we finished the song, and I immediately just started just playing some droning stuff like it was intentional.
Yeah.
And he kind of like for about a minute he just kind of like freaked out, but then finally he went off to the side and just like he had another pack of strings and. It's a Floyd Rose, but it took a second.
Yeah.
But it didn't take him too long, maybe 5-6 minutes. And I just kind of droned and did my own thing,
That's so crazy. Yeah, especially if it's in the middle of a song. So for the viewers, a Floyd Rose is a tremolo system where it's the whammy bar, right? And you got to cut off the nut of the string, feed it into the bridge, and then you got to feed the other end. And it's a lot of Allen wrench work and micro tuning and all this shit. And so for it to pop in the middle, it offsets all the other tunings of the other strings. So then they all become out of tune. You can't do anything very quickly. That's the dilemma for sure. So before we got on, Justin was playing this guitar. I don't know if you can see right here. The signature on this is Michael Graves right here. And we watched him a couple months ago at the Boom Boom Room, but the reason I bring him up is because he popped a string, I think on like his first or second song.
Damn.
And it's acoustic, right? So almost the same, you're sitting there by yourself, right? You can't immediately get up and just be like, hold on, peeps, So he finished out the song, and then he had a tackle box and a drill, and he had some little apparatus on there that he was able to, fix the string up real quick, and then he put that drill on the freaking tuning nut and just drilled it up. Yeah, it was like a quick
NASCAR.
loop. Yeah, it's like, damn, this dude got it figured out right here.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
One of our funnest problems that went wrong was actually that show in Monroe that I mentioned. It was kind of like, it wasn't an actual venue, like a music venue. It was this space that you can rent out, and then someone booked a show in there. It was like downtown Monroe, and so the power couldn't actually support everything that was going on there between all the power amps, the PA, the lighting system. So this fun thing would happen. like about every 15 seconds, there was like I think like 4 electric sockets. One of them would just stop working at any given time. So we'd be playing a song, the bass would cut out. We'd be playing along, the vocals would cut out.
Wow.
Then our guitars would cut out at a certain point in time. But it was just like pop back on. But we were running tube amps. So
Oh, man. That's so crazy. Yeah, it's like a thing you don't really think about. It's like, okay, is the power going to sustain during this show? Damn.
Yeah, I straight up went right to the lighting rig, and I just unplugged that entire thing in between the songs. And like the guy was super mad, and I was like, dude, or if you blow my $3,000 Angle Savage amp, you're paying for that. Like,
man, yeah, I think we only ever had to deal with power one time for High Octane, and it was in like I forget, it was like Crows Fest, whenever we were playing with Apollo's Crows and Crowley. And we were playing, and then something like the circuit blew or something. You just see like all the lights turn off, and then the mic stops working. Like, what the hell just happened? Man, you know, I just jogged my memory. So with the cut through the dawn days and all this stuff, going into that band, I was like, all right, these guys are super fucking cool. Gotta hang out, you know, see what the culture is like and all this stuff, and you know, we play the first couple songs and everything, and then I think it was like either you or Juan was like, all right, break time, and they all go outside, and I walk out there, and they're stacking their decks up, playing Magic, and I had never played Magic the Gathering before. It was a card game, and I was like, this is what goes on in metal band practices, huh?
I almost brought a deck with me today.
Dude, shut up. The damn land destruction vampire deck.
Oh, man. I don't have my old decks anymore. I ended up selling most of those. But speaking of Juan, he's been battling cancer for a minute now. A few months ago, I bought us a couple of Commander decks, and I went out there and we shot the shit. And played like old times.
Oh,
I need to go do that again.
Dude, next time you do, man, let me know. I'll definitely hit it up. If you got a spare deck, I'll jump in there with y'all. Yeah, that's so crazy, man. He's doing better, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is crazy, because when I saw all that stuff going down, I was like, man, it just, from the outside looking at it, it seemed bad, right? Obviously, it probably was bad, and then somehow he managed to pull it out.
Oh, yeah, like the doctor gave him such a small percentage. I forget the exact percentage, but they were like, you're not going to make it a year, like when he first got diagnosed. And it's been like probably almost 2 years now.
Fucking crazy.
Something, yeah, he's doing good as you can be.
Dude, that is like threading the needle. Like, you made it out of that shit. I'm sure he's still, obviously having to deal with it, but it's like, to make it that far out of that diagnosis, pretty damn good.
Yeah, me and Matt put a couple of benefits for him. Now, the first one is like when we first found out that he had cancer, but the second one was actually, we were doing that Magic game, and I hung out with him, and they were going through this issue. Heather walked in, and she had like the medical insurance papers, and they, what's the word? They canceled her, like took her off. Like they wouldn't give her an insurance anymore, which was the Medicaid. So they couldn't afford like the first level of paid insurance. So they were on the Medicaid, Medicare stuff. But apparently, like that year, she made like $1,000 more than too much. So they were in this fucked area.
Oh my God.
Where she couldn't get Medicaid, but they couldn't afford health care or health insurance. So
that sweet spot.
Yeah. And they were freaking out about that. Juan straight up went back to work with cancer. Like, just so.
Bro, the American dream right there, right?
And dude, like, I couldn't believe that. So, I mean, we did another benefit for him. It wasn't as, it was like right around Christmas time. It wasn't as successful, but we made some decent money for him.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's so fucking crazy. It's like this is the future, right? You have like modern healthcare, but you just can't afford it. That's the kicker. You got all the benefits in the world. You just, man, that's brutal. I hate insurance. We were just having to go through insurance bullshit today, and it's just like every time it was like, okay, we got what's going on here? We got a baby entering. I'll edit that out. Or maybe that was Sam joining us for a little second. But yeah, it's like every time it's like, okay, we're here to tell you about your insurance premiums going up, your copay going up, your coverage going down, with a smile on my face.
I don't even have insurance. I'm so poor.
Oh man, it's probably better off, because it's like when I think about it, it's like a gamble against your own health, and like whatever money you'd be spending per month on it, you could easily just save up. You know, we're healthy, we're young. It's not like you're gonna like, I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Gambling against your own health.
Of course, I'm poor enough. I probably can just get Medicare, but I'm just such a damn lazy piece of shit. I won't do it.
Take pride in it, son. So are you playing League of Legends at all anymore these
Dude,
days?
I quit that game like a bad coke habit. Like when I did, I looked up on there's like this website you can go on, like how much time you've wasted on League of Legends in your life or whatever. Like I accumulatively, not counting like waiting times, booting up the game, and that whole process, actual in-game time, I spent 121 days of my life playing that game. And I was like approaching 30 in that kind of like pre-midlife crisis kind of thing, like you need to get your shit together kind of thing. And I was like, this has to go. Like you're just wasting all your time with
it's like, and then you think about it, it's like, especially with League of Legends, it's super toxic for people who have never played it. It's fucking toxic. So then you're like halfway mad pretty much the entire 120 days that you played the shit.
I was just like missing stuff. I was like missing like shows with friends, hanging out, doing stuff. When I wasn't playing League, I was just drinking my ass off and partying. Like I was just doing nothing with my life, just sitting there in a sushi restaurant, and just playing music every now and then. Sure.
Yeah, I remember that shit. We used to play it, and we would get like our buddies would play it with us, and it was like the friendship destroyer because you'd eventually have somebody you'd play with that you're friends with. And then they would get super triggered, and it's like a team cooperation game. You're always looking to blame somebody. And one of our friends who would play it with us, he must have had like a box of headsets because every game we'd play with him, you die one time in the first 2 minutes and be like, all right, good game, bros. And you'd hear him take his headset off and just smash it on the ground. GG, boys, I'm out.
I do miss that one group I would play with Rob and Luke and... the guy that worked at the mall. I don't remember Rob. He'd always played. His name was King Reptile on there. No. He always played. What's that alligator's name?
Oh, Roanoke or something like that. Was that it?
No.
The guy with the the saw blade type attack.
No, not Rengar. It's like a.
It started with R though, right?
Yeah, I think it started with an R. It's been a minute since I played it.
Yeah, I remember him. He was pretty good.
No, but yeah, I quit that thing like it literally. I say a bad coke habit. Like for like 2 months after I quit playing it, I would just like be thinking about it, like literally like urges to play the damn game. It was bad, dude.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I uninstalled that and never looked back.
I'm not to that point with Path of Exile. Like I feel like I have it reined in now. Like I'll get on every now and then whenever they have a new season.
I think you tried to get me on that way back when.
It's super fun.
Yeah,
man.
It wasn't my type of game.
Yeah, it's an action RPG. It's like the spiritual successor to Diablo 2 with a lot of its own flair. But yeah, I can see how many hours I've put on it since it's part of Steam. And granted, a lot of it's like AFK time and all that stuff. But I remember that I spent back whenever I was living out in my apartment. We had maybe like a week, I want to say, of vacation time at work, and for Christmas, I want to say, and I spent like 3 or 4 days straight because a new league had just come out, and I was like, all right, I'm hitting this shit hard, boy, I'm doing it. And dude, I played it for like 3 or 4 days straight. I was single, barely saw the sun, and at the end of it, whenever people were asking me like, oh, what'd you do on your break? There's all this shit. I was like, oh man, what did I do? I literally just like leveled up this one character every day, all day. And like, that was the turning point for me personally, where I was like, okay, I gotta like have some kind of like moderation of this shit at least. And that's whenever I picked up that Personas interface right there and started recording at my apartment, and that's what ended up leading to that solo album. But yeah, it's crazy, man. Like you just take the same amount of time that you'd be doing something that there's value to be gained from playing video games, obviously, but if you're like binging on it just because you can't figure out anything else to do. It's crazy what you can accomplish with the same amount of time, put into a project or something.
Yeah, I definitely need to do some moderation. Right now, me and my girlfriend Michelle have just been playing the fuck out of video games. We're in this gray area, like we both work almost full time, but this economy sucks so fucking hard.
Oh, tell me about it.
Like right now, she has 2 kids, and we want to move into our own place with the kids. But right now, I'm living at a place I've been for probably 5 or 6 years now, and we have roommates, and they don't allow kids there.
The mansion?
Yeah, the mansion.
Oh, man.
And so we've been saving up for since New Year's, and like after the bills, like car insurance, phone bill, rent, utilities, and all that, we have like collectively maybe $400 between the two of us for a whole month.
Yep.
And the way we have it now, she's throwing all of her money into savings except for like the bills that she has, and I'm just buying food for us, basically. And so we don't go out, we don't have money to do anything. Just if we want to get out, we actually have to save up, and it's not even that much. So to pass the time, we just been playing the fuck out of Borderlands.
Oh, Borderlands!
Every single they have that what is it, like the Pandora's Box collection?
Yeah,
it's like $30. You get every single Borderlands game, every DLC, except for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. And
damn. What is your favorite out of all the Borderlands games that you've played?
Me, unpopular opinion, I still think Borderlands 3 is the best. Everyone says 2.
Really?
But honestly, a personal favorite of me and Michelle's, I think it still is Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
I see a lot of people playing that one. It's like the D&D game.
Tina is one. She's like a dungeon master for this game called Bunkers and Badasses. And instead of grenades, they replaced those crazy grenade slots with magic spells that you pick up off the ground and grind for loot wise. And like all your skills for your character is like a character sheet, just like in D&D. So you can level up like your dexterity, your wisdom, and stuff like that. And the story's hilarious. It's like, I mean, Borderlands has always been ridiculous with like the dialogue and stuff, but this is straight up just not even like canon. So, and it's in a fantasy world. So at one spot, instead of like, crossing the ocean to go fight the Dark Lord, they fucking end up push the boat aside with a nuclear silo and blow up the ocean. And so instead you have to walk on the ocean floor to get there.
That's awesome.
It's just dumb shit like that.
Yeah, I think I played a decent amount of the third one. I like those types of games. I like the fact that they have the, I always end up saying that I'm going to get into the new game plus of those types of games, but then I never do because I hit that moderation point. I'm like, I just played the entire damn thing and I'm about to sink into the same amount of time into this shit. But then it's like, oh, it entices you because it's got all the new things in the new game plus. Same with like Elden Ring and Dark Souls.
I've been meaning to play that one. I play games more to chill now. Like I don't play anything competitive or multiplayer or like not like online multiplayer. I mean, but I just got that out of my life altogether.
Keep your blood pressure nice and low.
Yeah, like I like keeping my mind busy and like thinking, especially like complicated games and stuff. That's fine. But I don't want to like cater to anybody else's time.
Yeah.
Like I want to like look at the scenery and like find all the loot and stuff. I don't want someone just sitting there. They've been sitting there 30 seconds at the finish line, just being toxic, throwing these comments about me.
Bro, you're playing AP Timo? That's not meta at all, bro. By the feed.
God.
Even though I'm a so-called diamond player and this is my twink account or whatever. Oh, man, I remember that shit. Yeah, man. Why don't we take a break and get some refills on these drinks?
All right.
All right, we're back. Got us a nice little refresher right here. Some old Dickel whiskey.
Bickle whiskey?
Dickel.
Dickel?
Yep. I got half of the reason that I got it was for the name, but the other half is because I've heard that was like a very good brand of whiskey, and it was like on sale for like $25. So
that seems like a word. If you ever to make a Jacob glossary, Dickel would definitely be one of the entries in that book.
my coworkers, even at my new job, I mean, not say new, I've been there for 7 years, but at my current job, they're like, want a soundboard of me,
dude,
just
yeah,
saying
like
dumb shit.
After hanging out with you for a couple years, like I just found myself saying random shit you would say, but just like out of context. I'll be like sounding like my normal self, and then I would just say, "Oh man," like weird shit like that, and then it would just throw everybody off.
It's like, oh, y'all don't know about that.
Tommy.
Oh, that shit was so good. He messaged me later about that, and he was like, man, I fucking hated that Tommy shit.
Like once a year, he'll hit me up like, hey man, I miss playing and Cut Through the Dawn. ... And then he'll just say something. I just just swipe it as soon as I get that far. He's been trying to hit me up for years. I just won't. Brutal. I'm not a hateful person either. I don't want to talk to you.
The burn is lasting.
What do you think would have happened if he didn't fuck up that band?
Bro,
like,
I often think about that. Because that was like...
I told you about who was there watching us that night, huh?
Yeah, it was Fear Factory, and then the people, it was like the record company that was with them, right? We're coming to like check us out.
There was 2 representatives, one from Nuclear Blast and one from Roadrunner.
It feels so crazy that it's like an eclipse. It's like you have the perfect lineup of people that you want to see you, and then you have them, because we played good shows before that.
Yeah.
No problems.
Just like think about like what was going on before that. Like, we were destroying everybody. Like we would get on a bill and we'd be like, okay, where are we at in the lineup? It's like, oh well, we don't know you guys, so you guys are gonna open. And we're like,
be first.
Like, are you sure? And like, and we would just go up there and just demoralize everybody. Like the band walking on stage, like I would see their face, they would be like so grim. It was hilarious, and it felt good too. And it's just like, damn.
Yeah, I thought about that so much because it was like, you had worked, like all that you had done was leading up to that show because y'all had anticipated that they would be there, so that you had gotten all the music and everything.
We were fortunate because we had a little bit of random underground notoriety because of Mike Smith being on that Psychometry album, and that we recorded the drums with David Kincaid.
So David Kincaid was with who? Who was he with before?
Oh, Borknagar. And then he recorded the record with who were they? He recorded like the top 5 fastest drums on an album ever with the band.
Jeez.
That was like he did that, and then did he do that and then came down, or did he do that afterwards? I forget. Damn it! I don't remember the name of the band.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, like it was something kind of cheesy. I can't remember the name.
On that subject too, we're gonna segue into this a little bit because it needs to be covered at least somewhere in here. Mm-hmm. David Kincaid was playing with y'all and doing all this shit at the Bechet House.
Yeah,
and the Bechet House was known for being haunted. And I feel like I witnessed a bit of that myself because there was one point where I know that it was like me and one other person, it might have been you, were in the studio, and then everybody else was outside, and then I knew for a fact that nobody was in there, and I heard somebody walking up the stairs, and I thought it was Juan, so I was like calling up to him up the stairs, and then he came out. He came inside through the back door, so I was like, okay, well then I definitely heard somebody walk up the damn stairs. Nobody's up there, so it's... But whenever David Kincaid was there was the whole like snare drum being ripped and all kind of shit, right?
Yeah, like I've always been like super interested in like the paranormal and stuff, but I've never like straight up like, believed in it, And but the stuff that happened there, like I don't know if there's like some weird cosmological thing with like energies that you can like exert like positive energies, that gets all spiritual and shit, and like negative energies and stuff. And I guess it didn't help that everyone was just kind of egging it on and also getting freaked out, so it kind of sparked like fear in everybody.
Yeah.
But there was stuff that happened in there within about a month time frame that I, for this day, cannot explain.
And they had the whole like, so there was like a decent amount of like paranormal activity that was going on. I think
it was like daily, constant. Like it wasn't like every now and then I was like, oh, I think I heard like an old times church organ playing or something. It was like weirdly sinister stuff that was happening.
Why don't you give us a little example?
Yeah, Well, like leading up to it, like there was like some weird stuff going on. Like I think the first thing that like really jumped out to me was when I first moved into the house. That's a whole weird story of how that ended up happening. But I remember I didn't really know John and Jeremy that good at the time, but I knew they had the room, and I was just got at psychometry at the time, and so they led me to the room upstairs. I had like my duffel bag on my shoulder, and they're like, "All right, this is your room." And I remember I just passed that threshold of like that doorway, and I just felt this sadness.
Ugh.
And like just it was like stale, empty sadness, and like I had goosebumps, and like I felt like the blood rush out of my face, and I was just like, "What is this?" And like I mean I didn't see a ghost or anything like that. It was just this feeling, and it just felt disgusting. It felt like I was being watched, and I was like, I immediately took a shower because I felt like I needed to. Like maybe that would wash it away, and it just didn't. So for a week, I was just feeling like that. But as soon as I would leave that room, I'd be fine. Like literally like a switch. And so I just started sleeping down in the living room. And I'm sure like if you ever, because I always sleep in, if you ever came over there at any earlier point in the day, I'm just laying there on the couch with my blanket, you know. Mm-hmm. And so that was like that for like a year. And then that was like the worst thing that ever happened at that time. But then David came, and he was I think he was recording some stuff with mostly for not Soul Giant. Cut Through the Dawn. He did a little bit of psychometry stuff. He was just trying to get away from his mom, I think. It was this weird thing how we got him to come down. We literally found him on the internet and like some sort of ad, and we're like, "Hey, we need a drummer for our metal album." He's like, "Cool. How much money are you gonna give me?" And Jeremy was like, $1,000. He was like, well, I got to pay for a hotel. I was like, well, it's a bed and breakfast, so you can stay here. He's like, all right, I'm on my way.
Damn.
And like the next day, he just drove from Chicago and he instantly started being his asshole self, you know. But shortly after he showed up, I don't know why. I think it had something to do with him. Like we told him the place was haunted, so he just kind of really geeked out and fed into that shit. So he started like walking around like really taunting and just doing some weird shit.
Oh man.
I guess I don't know what really caused everything, but so anyways, I'm sitting there on the couch watching Naruto as one does, and it's like 1 in the morning, and the Bechet House is like this old school plantation house built in I think like 1892, 94, something like that.
In the center of Karen.
There's some stories about the place being haunted, but nothing's ever been weird. It's just like it's kind of one of those things. Something happened, you're like, oh, I think that was a ghost, you know, something innocent like that. But anyways, the house is wrapped around with a porch with a big old mosquito net because we're in Louisiana, and the house is kind of raised, so it's not like on a slab foundation. It's just kind of sitting on blocks, I guess.
And there is that like spooky cellar. I was down there one time.
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
shit was weird. You got to like lift up the carpet.
I forgot
There's
about
like a trap door.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, something just bam, just like slams right beneath the couch where I'm sitting. It scared the fuck out of me. I threw my laptop down on accident, and I was like, whoa. And then like I kind of like heard like just kind of like dragging sound. So I was like, oh, okay, it must be like a possum or something. So like whatever. And so I got back to my show, and like another hour went by. Then out of nowhere, bam! Same thing again. Kind of spooked me a bit. And then I was just like, I just kind of stood up all alert, and I was like, what the fuck? And so I walked over, and this is a huge house, by the way. I walked over to the refrigerator, like just to look in there to see if there's something to eat. I was just like thinking about it, nothing. And then whatever it was, right under my feet, again, I felt like on the bottom of my foot, bam! Again, like right on the bottom of my foot, and that spooked me. I went back to my dorm, and that was the first thing that I remember when everything like started.
That's crazy.
Now, like, from that point on, like a bunch of weird shit was going on. Simple stuff like who keeps putting the thermostat on 50. And like everyone started pointing fingers at that because like John's like super tight with money and sharing me too. So she was getting mad. They were kind of blaming me, maybe some of the other roommates. There was a lot of people that lived there every day, several times a day, 50 degrees, and everyone was getting like really mad.
Really?
Like this shit isn't funny. And like you know how when John gets serious, you know. And
man, that's crazy.
Yeah, like that. It was like it wasn't like an electronic thermostat. It was one of those old school where you have to like
drag.
Yeah, the little nozzle over. And I'm sitting there on the couch right next to that room, which the thermostat's right there. So of course everyone was blaming me for it. I was like, no, I swear. See that this one for a straight week. This is wild. In the room that I was renting that I would never stay in, I would still shower in there. It was one of those that has like a door on it, you know, like a kind of it's a clear door, but it's like, you know, blurred out kind of door, whatever. And for like every single day for a straight week, I walked out and there was a snake in there. And it was just all like every single time it was coiled up next to the tub, just looking at me. Same place for a week. And we would take the snake out, like what we call animal control, like 6 or 7 times. And they came out there, did their thing. It was a different snake every fucking time. What? Yeah. It was like, if that's not a bad omen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Everyone else was like having their own weird things happen. Like Juan was having awful nightmares, like really vivid ones.
Oh, man.
Jonathan and Jeremy were just getting like super, just like anxious and like mad at each other. And so like they were just like angry around the house. And, of course, Dave's being Dave, just egging all this shit on. He started buying, like, ghost gear and, like, doing, like, all the flashlight tricks, you know, the EMF. And
I remember John talking about how he woke up in the middle of the night one time and he saw, like, a figure, like, sitting. It was like a silhouette in the corner of his room.
He actually got up and kicked that thing.
Yeah. Oh, man. And he had,
I forgot about
video of the bed skirting, like, fluttering and shit because they actually got, like, a real, like, ghost hunter people to come out.
Yeah, I never like saw like a ghost or an apparition or anything like that. And even like after like all this, like you can like feel the tension. And like and there was a lot of people living there. It was like me, Juan, John, Jeremy, I think Wody and Theo at the time, or maybe it was Hal and his girl at the time.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of rooms in that. It was it's a huge house. But even after all that, I was just like, it's just some weird negativity going around here. So me and Kincaid were recording. So the computer and the soundboard is in one room, and he's over in another room, and we're talking to each other through headphones and the mic and everything. And we were recording Comatose Eyes from Cut Through the Dawn. And every single time, about 15, 16 seconds into the recording, we would just hear this like all over through the headphones, and it was like loud, like crazy static. We would like have to throw our headphones off. I would stop the recording. We're like, dude, what the fuck is that? I was like, I don't know. And then like you would play it back, and it would just like stop recording. It didn't have that sound. It would just like kind of like a heart monitor. Like you'd see the waves moving, and then just nothing. Every single time it would do that on all the tracks. And so we did that like maybe 7 or 8 times in a row. And, one more thing to preface this. One weird thing that was going on is I had this guitar tree, right, where I would hang all my guitars on it. And every single day, for probably about 2 weeks at that point, I would wake up and I'd go in there and play and practice for school or whatever. And, like, all of the strings on all 3 of those guitars would be tuned as close to the same note.
I remember you telling me about that. Yep.
And it wasn't the same exact note. Like someone with a tuner did it. It was like so creepily just far out, kind of like your piano in there. It's not perfectly in tune, and it is just like that really eerie off tune. And like some of them would be so tight, like if I tightened any more, like it would like pop. And like I was like, dude, who's fucking with me? I was getting so mad. I was like, you're gonna like warp the necks of my guitars or something. Like you're really gonna mess this shit up. It's back when I was playing those Les Pauls, and so that was like bugging me. So I say preface that because when we were doing this thing, there was a couple of things. It was like some rough tracks we were going with. So I was actually holding one of the guitars and kind of playing along with him as I was like explaining parts to him. I don't know. It was just part of the process. And so like after about the 7th or 8th time that track cut out all crazy, we were just sitting there just in silence, just like, what the fuck? And then all of a sudden, we heard that just crazy, just out of nowhere, just again. And then it was like, it freaked us out. We're like, dude, what the fuck? And we kind of like got spooked for a second. And we're like, all right, let's try it again. And we started playing, press record again. And this time it was a different sound. We were like, what the fuck? And it was like coming from the snare. And so we stopped and he looked at the bottom of the snare. And the bottom head had been ripped out. Like, and you can straight up see like 4 finger indentions where something would have like put his fingers in there and like pulled backwards.
Oh my god!
And at the same exact time, I remember I did like this. I put my head and my hands on my head, and when they came down, they hit my guitar strings, and all of those strings were in that tuning.
Yeah,
dude, I went ghastly pale white, dude. I picked up the guitar and I just dropped it on the couch.
Oh man!
And he heard it too. He like the look on his face, and he was just like holding that drum. Dude, we went straight to the bar.
I'm sure.
I'm getting goosebumps just like.
I know, yeah. I remember you telling me I'm getting goosebumps too.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So that was like the wildest thing that's ever happened to me. Some more things happened. I'm not gonna take up all the time talking about ghost stories, but one more thing. When it's all ended, we had this witch doctor called old Marshall. Remember that dude?
Yeah.
And he did this thing. I'm not sure exactly what it was called. I call it the egg ceremony. And basically, we had a fucking egg and just a paper plate, and he melted some candle wax enough to where you could like stick that egg on there, and it stuck on the plate. And so he stuck that on a table in my room, and he put like these weird kind of bells around it. And they were just kind of sitting there. And that night we had like this seance, and we had like a ride symbol in there and a couple other like little trigger objects and stuff. And it was wild. It was like all like everybody in the house just crammed into my room, and like we didn't get like voices or anything, but we had those flashlights, you know,
yeah.
And they were like just like blinking together and popping on and stuff. Like the lights in my room were flickering. That symbol, you kept just hearing something go, just like over the top of it, just like ringing and stuff. All this crazy shit was going on. And so long story short, that we ended that crazy session. And for the next 3 days, like nothing weird happened. One thing he said, he was like, don't touch that egg. Don't do anything to it, like no matter what, for a week. And I was like, okay. I didn't stay in there. I just kept sleeping on the couch. And so a week later, we all went in there. And he told us, he's like, okay, pick up that egg and go drive it somewhere and bury it. And so Juan went to go pick it up, and he was expecting, like, you know, the egg to have some weight to it, right?
Right.
So and it's on a paper plate. So he goes to, like, put his hand over there, and, like, he picks it up so fast, he almost crushed it. He's like, whoa, what? And that egg was hollow.
That is
insane.
Dude,
no, like, holes in it. We didn't drain the fluid. It was just a normal egg. And that thing, like, it was supposed to, like, soak up the spirit energy, the negative energy or whatever.
Oh, man.
And you're not supposed to crack it, or it was like it releases it, you know? So, dude, I can't explain that, man. There was nothing in that. You can, like, it was hollow. You could tell.
It
had no weight to it. It was like one of those plastic eggs for Easter, you know? It was just crazy. And, like, no one went there and swapped the egg out. It was the same exact stupid paper plate on the wax, you know? It's not like the wax was hot enough to cook the egg, because it would still have weight to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man, that was nuts.
Yeah, and after that, not a peep out of the house, nothing. It's wild. It was just a crazy, probably 3 weeks of my life, maybe a month, of just like, it was like, it just escalated so quickly. It started off with just weird things, and then like, kind of like emotional things after the second week, and then the third week was like physical things were happening. And then we did that, and it's never heard from it ever again.
Oh my god, that is crazy. You know, I'm gonna end up having Josh on here, but he's been having some paranormal stuff like recently going on in his house.
Really?
And it's the same thing. It's like in the beginning he wasn't too sure about it, right? And then, you know, over time it's like, okay, this seems not normal, and then it escalates, and like he just recently had some ghost hunter peeps go out. And they had the, like, lights, and he'll explain it better once he actually comes on, but it's, like, the lights and, like, the transmission that you could hear, and you could hear, like, voices and stuff, and they would, like, respond. And, man, just hearing. He had the audio of the, you know, recordings of it, and it was pretty spooky.
Even after all those things, like I said, I was always interested in paranormal stuff. I still don't know if I even still believe in it. I mean, I believe something fucked happened.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. I have no idea how to. But, I mean, if you believe in that, then you also have to believe that there's some sort of afterlife. You know, and that just opens up a whole other philosophical debate.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm intrigued by all that stuff, because to me, it's like what you were talking about, right? Like David Kincaid taunting it. In the negative energy. if that does have some way of feeding into it and making it grow, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing is like a black box, because if you like look into it and you start feeding into it, then it starts to grow. So there's no way that you can observe it that's not going to influence it in your direction.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that's the craziest thing to me. It's like, you can't tell if it's real before you look at it.
It almost makes me wonder if like there's this like, how I don't even know how to explain this. Like in sci-fi, like aliens can speak to each other through their minds, telepathy and stuff. If like there's just some weird innate dormant part of our brains that has weird abilities like that, they're able to like necessarily make things float or whatever.
Yeah,
but
just
like
tap into another dimension,
something
or
like energetic
realm.
magnetism, some kind of weird thing that we just haven't evolved yet to do that. There's like I don't know, there's that, but also I found out or I heard about this theory. It's called the stone tape theory. I'm not sure you're familiar with that.
Do tell.
So you know how like on records, like on a record for instance, like that's literally a physical thing that you etch like little things into, and it you put the needle on the thing and it plays back those etchings and the sound comes out, which is pretty wild. So the same idea of how like specifically, let's say a piece of wood can soak up like water or fluids or something. What if like say a piece of wood in a house could soak up memories, almost like a piece of film, for instance? Like that's just like this piece of like plasticky paper that you imprint onto it. So what if like these energies can imprint on things?
Oh yeah,
like haunted objects or like earthy things like wood, stone, and like what if like these like whatever event, whether it's happy or straight up depressing, like a murder, for instance, just an extreme case of a lot of negative energy going on. What if that moment just literally imprinted itself onto an object, and kind of like how like an old school camera projects something, it just projects an image, and this weird like all like the things work out just right for like every now and then like that imprint to just trigger, something strange like that. So I'm probably not explaining that too good, but that's the idea of the stone tape theory. Is like events can and somehow imprint themselves onto objects or places.
Oh, man, that's cool.
And so as far as like paranormal things go, that makes kind of sense to me. That would, for one, get rid of the whole afterlife thing, and so which that's kind of, the thing kind of freaks me out. And that's like a more scientific thing. Is like, I mean, we can't really prove that, I don't think, at least not now, but that seems feasible at least. Except for things that are happening like intelligently. Now that's like a whole other weird kind of thing. Yeah, like
aliens.
Yeah, maybe.
Tell me about the aliens.
And like I've been super big into like space and not necessarily aliens, and I'm pretty sure I know why. Because back in our 20s we did a lot of experimenting.
Experimenting.
And we saw some shit that we weren't supposed to see.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
The elves.
Yeah. And it just kind of like, when you do that, it just leaves this kind of like, for me, this like longing in my heart. Not only to like, it's almost like to be with them. It's weird. Like ever since, and I think about it all the time, the things that I saw were so vivid. And I always hate telling drug stories because, especially people that don't do drugs or haven't done drugs, you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
But to you, the person that did the drugs, they're so excited about what you saw, and then just you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like they don't give a shit, and it's impossible for them to understand that kind of thing. But anyways, I've been super big into space for like the longest time now.
Yeah,
and
the whole holding the key.
Yeah, I pretty much given up on us ever like achieving space travel. With the engineering and stuff. I kind of like got off into physics and all kinds of like nerdy stuff too, just because I'm curious just to know like what humans are capable of. What can we achieve? I mean, already Einstein proved that we can't even go the speed of light, which even if we did would take 6 years to get to the nearest system if we actually achieved light speed. And so it's just not feasible. And so like, what's the next alternative? There's warp drives that like they can like allegedly warp space time and like fold it on top, like each
yeah,
other.
like the paper. And
yeah, and then
through.
just basically puncture a hole and then like pass through. You know, okay. let's see you pull that off. And then there's also like energy and propulsion and like all this stuff that just goes into it. It's so overwhelming. It's especially like in our lifetime, it's just not gonna happen. So
have you seen the new show they came out with on Netflix, the 3-Body Problem?
No.
And you ought to check that out whenever you get a chance. They had it just reminded me, they have an interesting little bit where they like are trying to send. It's like they create a sail that they can hit with nuclear explosions over and over. And so
a solar sail? Or
like,
is it...
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. It hits it with radiation from the bombs, and then they line up a bunch of bombs, and then they like propel this thing through space, and it keeps accelerating because of the bombs like that.
Yeah. I always had this
concept.
idea, like, I'm not an engineer, but I always, because I'm super like interested in like the advancement of technology and like how can we get to that, you know. I always had like these ideas. Maybe, I mean, you're more in like knowledgeable about stuff like that than I am. I always had this idea of, you know how, like, okay, say you got a horse-drawn carriage, right? It's just sitting there. The horse won't fucking move. So back in the day, they would put a carrot in front of it, and the horse would see him like, ugh, you know, and he would just start pulling the thing along. Like, what if we had something that dangled in front of something in space, which the physics are different in space because of the vacuum. Like holds. Something that would on the ship and would pull just straight to the thing, like magnets, for instance. Like something magnetic.
There's I don't know how much you've watched of the Joe Rogan podcast.
A little bit here and there.
Have you seen the one where he talks to Bob Lazar about the alien tech? Bro, I'm gonna send you that one.
Yeah,
it's super good. But I can't remember. I think it was him that talked about it. But you know, if you believe in alien technologies and stuff like that, I can't remember if it was him or somewhere else that I've heard this, but the way that they propel those ships, so say, is they create a bubble, like a gravity bubble, around the ship, so that it's not affected by like G forces or, you know, like wind or air resistance.
Talking about like for like on Earth.
Yeah. Okay. Or just in general, right? And basically, it's almost like what you were describing, where it's being pulled through space, but it's like gravity is pulling them in the direction that they want to go, and it just creates this bubble around them so that they're free to move through water or air, and it's all the same, but it's similar like that to where they're. I wish I could remember it better. I'm gonna have to. The whiskey is affecting my memory right here.
I used to always have a ton of ideas. Like I said, like I'm no engineer or architect or anything, but like flying cars, for instance. I mean, I know they exist, but like they're basically jets that have wheels on them, you know. But like you get like two decently strong magnets, and you try and like reverse them and push them against each other, and they push away, right? Like, what if you had a street or like an entire like some surface? And then, like, the bottom of that car, this car, for instance, was that negative thing. So it would literally float on top of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then there could be ways of, like, actually
quantum locking.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Well, a little bit. Like, I haven't really gotten nothing too much, like, quantum research stuff. But apparently that is the next big thing.
Yeah, man, I've seen a video where I could post a link to this too, but they have it's like a superconductor where they like take it and they freeze it super cold, and I think it's a magnet or something. It's a railway where they have it in a track in a circle, and they can take that magnet and they can tilt it any kind of way that they want, and it'll stay in that position, and they can swing it around.
Yeah,
it stays locked in space in the way that and it's not only like levitating, but it's like a magnet, so they could put it on the underside of it too, and it stays in whatever orientation. Yeah,
I feel like you wouldn't even like if we were to have to achieve something like that, you wouldn't even have to drive. Like the computer would take control of all those calculations for you. It could even prevent crashes. Like if something was like coming to each other, it would have that reverse pull, so you couldn't even crash. It would just like stay away from each other, you know? The future is coming. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always had, like, when I was a kid, I had, like, that kind of idea. I mean, obviously, to even achieve something like that would cost is more than the planet's worth, probably. to build a magnetic superhighway, and then also have like the buffers on each side to control at any given time how like the negative and positive pull of something, because you have to have stuff on the other side, either side around it too, right? To and probably even above as well to like keep it right center, because otherwise maybe you would put too much power and you just like fly too high or something. Like I don't know.
Technology, bruh. It's coming at us fast.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting to the last little bit of the show here. You want to tell us about any kind of upcoming shows you got with the band?
I'm glad we talked about just the most random shit the whole time.
Ramp it up into space,
never really
literally.
stood on one subject. Let's see. Soul Giant. We're almost finished recording this. The first EP of the second album. We have 2 music videos. One's almost done. The second one, where we have the footage, but we're not sure what to do with it yet. The biggest thing we have booked right now is in Mississippi in May 25th.
Nice.
And it's actually going to be a pretty nice place. I think it's a place called Club 34. They're actually giving us like travel money and
that's tight.
Guaranteed money and a hotel and stuff.
Always nice. Guaranteed dough.
Yeah. And so there's that. I also do the Justin Doan Stretch Extravaganza. We hadn't even talked about that, but that's okay.
Are you playing? That's
no, I'm not.
Oh, dang. I've seen that in person. It's great. He gets on. You do a lot of like video game.
Yeah,
music
video
with that.
game, anime, movies, just about anything that's like in pop culture. That's not pop music. It
is very entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, you play for like an hour or two with just you doing that?
Yeah,
right?
those are the typical shows, hour and a half. But I've done as long as 3 hours, which is a nightmare, by the way. Because I have to like program all the music videos.
Yeah.
It's like it's super strict. Like once I press play, like there's no like I got my string breaks. I gotta like stop the song. It's going because like the music and the videos are all attached to that file.
Man.
So if something goes wrong at any point, like it's all fucked. I'm just up there looking like an asshole, and it's happened before. So I definitely look like an asshole.
Anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
Well, cool. You have any Lafayette shows coming up for Soul Giant?
Not anytime soon. I am trying out for a band though this Sunday. Endure the Affliction. They're pretty established around here.
Endure the Affliction. That's who's in that band?
See Josh Dome of Underground Sea.
Yeah, I thought that. Okay, I think he's going to be coming on here pretty soon.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome.
So maybe I'll make it. Maybe I won't. I know that they've all kind of messaged me and like they really want me to do it. But I mean, and I've learned the song, so. But I just want to get in there and play with him, and make sure it's a good fit.
Yeah.
Just because I can play the fuck out of a guitar doesn't mean it's gonna work.
Right. Yeah, it's got to have the right energy.
Yeah. But no, the guy is pretty good, and I think it'll be all right. We'll see though.
Nice.
That's about it. And we're just working on the album, and I'm teaching every day, just about.
Very cool, man. Well,
playing a lot of video games.
If you're seeing this and you want to interact with this man in any of his endeavors, book a show, hit him up. This is Mr. Justin Doan. Appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you.
Peace out, peeps.
See ya.